Take a look at this picture here. Well, these pictures have been taken from the inside of Ajanta caves, and these are man-made caves which were made so that Buddhist monks can live inside them. But why exactly were Buddhist monks living in caves? Well, today we are going to find out that exactly. Religion plays an important role in today's society, and two of such religions are Buddhism and Jainism. Buddhism was started by Gautama Buddha, whereas Jainism was started by Lord Mahavira, and both of them preached in the common language or the common tongue that was spoken by the people back at their time. They were both contemporaries and were born in the 6th century BC. Right? Today, Buddhism is the fourth largest religion across the world, whereas there are more than 4 million people following Jainism in India itself. And today we are going to learn more about these followers. Will you see, the followers of Jainism are known as Jainas, and these people had to live their life in their own way. They had their own code of conduct. They lived simple lives and didn't have anything. They had to give up everything, all their worldly possessions, right? And so they also had to beg for food, and they usually just have one meal a day. The men had to give up everything, like we said, including their clothes. So they can't even wear clothes. Now, these Jain people, they were expected to be honest, practice celibacy, which means that they had to be single and could not get married, and they could not steal, or their most important code of conduct was that they are not allowed to hurt other living beings. Even if you take a look at this picture here, you can see these people wearing masks, right? So why are they wearing masks? They are wearing masks in order to protect themselves from hurting even the smallest of the living beings, like bacteria that is there, right? So that is why they are wearing masks. But as we already saw that these people were not allowed to wear clothes, they had to give up their clothes itself, right? So we can understand that there are in fact two sects of Jain people. One is Digambas, the other one is Shvetambras. And so Shvetambras are much more flexible and they are allowed to wear clothes. So where exactly did Mahavira preach? Well, take a look at the map here and spot the places that have been marked in blue. He preached in Bihar, in Kosala in Uttar Pradesh, and in Videha, that is in Nepal, present day. And even other than that, his teachings also reached other places such as Odisha, South India, Gujarat, Rajasthan. So his teachings in fact had reached all over India, right? But Jainism was mainly supported by traders. And as we already saw that it is an important part of not hurting anything or anyone else. So because of that, farmers could not really participate in Jainism or could not be a part of Jainism, right? Why? Because they had to kill the pests to protect their crops, right? So there are different pests that affect a crop, and so the farmers had to kill them. So they were hurting small animals, right? So this is why farmers could not actually support Jainism. It was difficult to follow the rules of Jainism for farmers. So mainly it was just supported by traders. So the important question arises, which is, why were the followers of Jainism called Jainas? Well, you see, the term Jaina comes to us from Jina. What does Jina mean? Jina means someone who conquers, right? And so Mahavira had conquered his inner self and was now free from the cycle of rebirth. So what is this cycle of rebirth? This basically means that we take birth, we live our life, and then we die. Now we again take birth, we again live our life, and we die again. So there's this cycle that according to Mahavira we must get rid of, because when we live our life we really suffer, and so one must be free from this cycle, and that is why we must achieve nirvana or moksha, right? So after Mahavira had achieved nirvana, he was now free from this cycle, and so Mahavira had conquered his inner self, and therefore he was now also called a Jina. And so the followers, his followers, started calling themselves Jainas, and that is how Jainism began. Mahavira was responsible for the beginning of Jainism. So, both Mahavira and Gautam Buddha were actually contemporaries. Both were there in the 6th century BCE, and their teachings were also somehow similar, right? They both believed in something. That is, to gain true knowledge, one must leave their home. Because both Gautam Buddha and Mahavira were born in a royal family, in different royal families, and they both decided to leave their houses at the age of 29 for Gautam Buddha and at the age of 30 for Mahavira, right? So they strongly felt that only those who left their homes could gain true knowledge. So now Sanghas were formed. What is Sangha? Well, Sangha is an association of those who left their homes in order to look for true knowledge or in order to gain enlightenment, right? And the rules made for Buddhist Sangha were written down in a book called Vinaya Pitaka. These were written down in palm leaves because paper was not there back then, and these were written down after 500 years of Buddha's death. So these rules came in later. So now let's try to figure out how the people lived in these sanghas, how life in these sanghas was, right? So all men could join the sanghas. So it wasn't like only the kings or the rich people could join sanghas. As we already know that in Buddhism as well as in Jainism, the concept of equality was very much important and very much present, and so everyone could join the sanghas. However, people had to take permission before joining. So the wives had to take permission from their husbands, the people working for the king had to take permission from the king, the debtors had to take permission from the creditors, and so on. Children had to take permission from their parents, and so on. So it was important to take permission before joining these sanghas. So these people lived really simple lives. They meditated for most of their time, and they went to the cities and villages to beg for food during fixed hours of the day, because they could not, they had renounced everything, right? So they didn't have anything. So even for food, they had to beg. So now because these people had to beg for food, they were called bhikkhus or bhikkhunis, which is a person who has given up everything. So they were called bhikkhus or bhikkhunis. And so in these sanghas, they also held meetings if there was any problem. So they also held meetings to settle any quarrels that was there. And many people wrote down several things. So they wrote down the teachings of Buddha, at least in the Buddhist Sangha, they wrote down the teachings of Buddha, and they also composed poems describing their life in these sanghas. So even from these poems, we get a lot of information about how life in these sanghas was exactly. Now, what happened is that these saints, these Buddhist and Jain saints, went from one place to the other. Why? Well, they went from one place to the other throughout the year to teach people, right? And so what happened? Well, because they used to travel, the only time that they could not travel was during the rainy season, because it becomes very much difficult to travel while it's raining, right? So they had to stay at one place during rainy season. So where will so many people stay? So their supporters or their followers, they built temporary shelters for these saints who were traveling, right? Gradually what happened is that people realized that such temporary shelters were not an answer. So they needed permanent shelters. So what happened? Well, permanent shelters were made. These were monasteries. They were made all over India for these saints and monks who were traveling. These monasteries were known as viharas, and earlier on these were made of wood, later on they were made of brick. Take a look at this picture here. This is the Ajanta caves from the outside. So if you closely look at this picture, you can actually see how the cave has been hollowed out, and so this is the place that these monks were living in. The caves have been hollowed out of the hills for monks to live in, and there are also stairs for easier access. So you can actually understand how seriously these caves were built. Other than that, the land on which these monasteries and caves were built was usually donated by rich merchants, landowners, or sometimes even kings. Take a look at this picture here. This here is the Lomas Rishi cave, which is in Barabar and Nagarjuni hills, which is in Bihar, and this was made during the Ashokan period in the 3rd century BCE. Right? So we can understand that King Ashoka was responsible for making such a cave where Buddhist monks used to stay at one point of time, and local people also came here or other caves bearing gifts, food, clothing and medicine for these monks that were staying here, because they did not have anything of their own, so they received gifts from local people. And it is said that it is a very good deed if you help these monks out, and in return these monks used to teach them. So we can understand that it was actually a very fruitful contribution. Some of these caves and monasteries were also built by rich landowners and even kings, on the order of the kings and queens. So take a look at this picture here. This is in fact Nasik caves, which is there in Nashik in Maharashtra, right? And these were built by Jain kings and are 2000 years old. These have 29 different caves in them. And at different points of time, these have been homes to Buddhist as well as for Jain saints. So this could have been used for Buddhist monks to live at. Time period, they were used for Jain saints as well. So it is because of these things that inside the caves you can even find idols of Buddha, Bodhisattvas that are worshipped by Buddhists, and even Jain Tirthankaras, Jain prophets. So from all of this we can actually understand that the monks and saints played a very important role in the spread of these religions. Take a look at these pictures. This is the Ranakpur Jain temple and the other one is Dilwara Jain temple, and all of these Jain temples honor different Tirthankaras or prophets and are quite beautiful. So thousands of people visit these temples every year. Even Buddhist monasteries are spread all across India. Take a look at this picture here. This one is from Ladakh, whereas this here is from Karnataka. So we can understand that even monasteries are there all throughout India. And people living in these monasteries, these monks also have played a very important role in spreading Buddhism. In fact, a lot of people all across the globe come to India or visit India to visit such monasteries today. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free on DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app and get easy access to more than 5,000 amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million-plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and get a chance to win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So, at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it's rewarding too. So, register for free now.